5 tips to working securely from home. With all the recent COVID-19, coronavirus, shelter-in-place kind of stuff, we've got a lot of people who would normally be working in an office or at a workplace now working from their home. This raises the specter of a lot of damage potentially happening as malicious actors get involved and try to take advantage of people who are working in an environment that they're not used to working in. In a recent episode of the CyberWire podcast, the author listed 5 steps to basically working from home more securely. I want to review those steps. I want to go over each one and explain not only why it's important, they'll all be familiar to you, but also why it's specifically important, especially important, now that you're working from home. That actually does color the security steps we might want to take along the way. And when we get to number 5, I'll actually disagree a little bit. Number 1, stay up to date. Now, it's easy at home to let things slide. Maybe not keep your machine as up to date as it should be. You know what it takes, you know what's necessary, but you just haven't gotten around to it, and it's not a big deal, you think, just because it's your home machine. There are 2 variations on this one. One, all of a sudden your home machine, if that's the machine you're using while you're working from home, that just became your work machine. You don't want your work, your company, to be impacted by your having been lax with your home security, with your home updates. So you'll want to make sure that it's up to date. That's both the operating system and the applications installed on it. The other scenario is if you're lucky enough to have hardware that comes with you from work. If it comes, you get to take home your work laptop, or even in some cases your work desktop, because this scenario is lasting so long. The important thing to realize there is that your company may have update procedures in place that are no longer working because you're not at work. These update procedures, who knows, they could be automated, they could rely on the corporate network that you're not connected to, they could rely on any number of different things. Once again, it's important that you keep your machine as up to date as possible so as to avoid hackers taking advantage of any recently discovered exploits in the operating system or the applications that you use. 2, use two-factor authentication. Really. Again, it's easy to become kind of lax with personal accounts. You might think that they're not important. They are, but that's a different discussion. Where things get really dicey now is that you're using your business accounts on your home equipment or in your home. That opens up those accounts to additional vulnerabilities or additional inspection potentially by bad actors if you haven't kept things up to date. One of the best ways to protect any account from being hacked and basically bypasses a lot of these the other things we're talking about, be it network security or keeping things up to date, is to put two-factor authentication on that account. Two-factor authentication means you need to prove that you have something, a second factor that proves you are you before you're allowed to sign into a new account or sign into an account on a new machine. It's not very burdensome. It really isn't. It's incredibly important because what it means is that even if a hacker somehow gets your password, they still can't log in as you. So two-factor authentication, consider it certainly for all of your personal accounts, but doubly consider it for all of your business or work-related accounts or the accounts you might be accessing while you're doing your work at home. It can really prevent a disaster from happening. 3, don't reuse passwords. We talk about this a lot, but nowhere is it more important than when you're suddenly dealing with your business accounts from a place you're not used to. If you reuse passwords, what happens is that if that password, for any reason, gets known to a hacker, those reasons can include breaches at the services that you happen to be using that password at. It could be you're being hacked. It could be a keylogger on your machine, whatever. That password then, through a process known as credential stuffing, is taken by the hackers and just tried, along with your email address, against all of the popular services and even some of the not so popular services. And one of the ways I'm convinced that they'll be tailoring this approach with respect to everybody, or with respect to more people working from home, is that more and more work accounts are going to be prodded or probed this way. By using a different password on every single account, you're preventing a breach of one from potentially impacting the rest. So make sure you're using a different password on every account. Use a password vault. I like LastPass, but there are many, many others. Use a password vault to keep track of it all, and make sure that you're using a long, strong password that's unique for every account. 4, don't get phished. Especially with everybody working at home, I'm absolutely convinced that phishers are going to start targeting work scenarios. So make sure that email from your boss is really from your boss, or that email from corporate headquarters is really from corporate headquarters, or any other of a number of scenarios that might involve your workplace. Remember, hackers are really, really interested in getting access to your company's computers. They may not be interested in you specifically. They may be interested in getting your credentials so that they can then in turn access your company's network, your company's files, or whatnot. We have heard many, many stories, too many stories, of hacks, breaches, and ransomware that really boiled down to exactly one person falling for a phishing email that allowed then malware to be installed on their machine that then propagated through the corporate network. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person responsible for allowing ransomware or worse onto your corporate network. Be extra careful watching for phishing, especially now that you can't just walk across the hall and ask, hey, did you really send this? 5, use a VPN. This is one where I actually disagree ever so slightly. VPNs are great if you're traveling to protect you from being snooped on, if you're in like an open Wi-Fi hotspot or some other internet service that you're unaware of, like at a hotel or a conference venue. But we're not doing that right now, right? We're not traveling. That's the whole point of what's going on. We're stuck at home. Using a VPN at home doesn't really add a tremendous amount of security, with perhaps one exception, and that is if for some reason you can't trust your ISP or perhaps your government. Now, it's also a little confusing to find this on the list because in many cases, when people are working from home and they're joining their corporate network, that by definition is the corporate VPN, which provides you that same level of security. So if you have a corporate VPN in place, chances are you don't need to do something else with a VPN of your own. That's enough to protect you and your company. Like I said, it's not something that I would put high on a list of security tips, but it is something worth considering when we get back on the road. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you have other tips for staying secure that are unique to working at home? Bringing the company's business into your bedroom can get kind of odd, can feel kind of weird, and it does open you to a very interesting set of, I'll just say, problems that are worth understanding and realizing whether or not you to take additional steps to protect yourself. Leave your comments down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you like. I'm Leo Notenboom. This is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.